Welcome back. In the previous steps, we discussed one-to-one relationship between the passport and the student. We have a column called passport ID in the student representing the passport ID for a specific student. In the student entity, we have added in a passport and we added in a one-to-one relationship in here. And now we can get the student and we are also able to get the passport details of the student. We were able to write a simple unit test where we got the student, and to get the passport details of the student, all that we had to do was do student.getPassport. Now, I would want to do the same thing for the reverse as well. I would want to be able to get a passport from the database using the entity manager and get the details of the student the passport is associated with. Until now, we were going from student to passport. I would also want to be able to go from passport to this student. What we have created earlier, the relationship between student and passport. So we are able to get student and get his passport, student.getPassport. That's called a unidirectional relationship. So from student I can go to passport, but from passport I don't have a way right now to go to student. I cannot get a passport details and get the student details that is associated with that particular passport as things stands right now. That's exactly what we would want to fix in this specific step. Let's get started with it. So I'm going to the passport entity. Think about it. What should I do to add a student in here? So I would want to be able to connect back to the student. How do I do that? The way I would be able to do that is by using a one-to-one relationship in here. So I would still keep the one-to-one relationship as fish type lazy. This should not be a passport. This will be a student and student as well. Let's organize the imports and let's generate the getters and setters quickly. Generate right-click source, generate getters and setters. I want to generate the getters and setters for the student. That's cool. I don't want them in here, so I'll move them a little down right below the number. That's cool. There's a relationship between the passport and the student. Let's see what would happen. Is this all you would need to do? Let's see what would happen when I restart the application. What kind of tables get created? The application has started up and I'm launching up H2 console now. So we have in the passport now a column called student ID. So student has passport ID and passport has student ID. This is the kind of data that we have right now. So we have a student and student table has a passport ID and the passport table has a student ID. So 2001 or 20001 is associated with passport ID 40001 and 40001 is associated with 20001. This is duplication of information, right? So the association between 20001 and 40001 is being stored in two different places right now, in two different rows, in two different tables, and that's not good. In database, one of the most important things to have good data quality is to ensure that you're not duplicating the same information again and again. So the option we have typically is to make one of these entities the owning side of the relationship. I should either make the passport the owning side or the student the owning side of the relationship. By the owning side of the relationship, I mean that either student should have the passport ID or passport should have the student ID. If student has the passport ID, then student is the owning side of the relationship. If passport has the student ID, then passport will be the owning side of the relationship. Let's shift our attention to declaring the owning side of the relationship in the mappings. So I don't want the current situation. I don't want student ID in passport. So now I can make either the passport or the student owning side of the relationship. For now, let's keep student as the owning side of the relationship. The way we can do that is by adding a mapped by. So you just need to say mapped by and put in what is the name of the variable. So in student, what is the name of the variable this is mapped by? This is mapped by passport. So I'm taking this and putting it in here. So that's all you would need to do to add a mapped by, to make the student a owning side of the relationship. Now the most important thing is, I want to make student the owning side of the relationship. I'm adding mapped by on the passport. So you don't add mapped by on the owning side of the relationship. You would add mapped by on the non-owning side of the relationship. Passport is the non-owning side of the relationship, and that's where we are adding in the mapped by. So let's see what would happen. I'll stop the application and start it again. Let's see what's happening in the H2 console. Connect the passport table and the student table. Now you can see that the student table has a passport ID, but the passport table does not have a student ID. This is good. From the table design point of view, we are clear. So we now have student and passport. We have the relationship established between the entities as well. From the student, I can navigate to the passport student.get passport. From the passport, I can navigate to the student as well, but we have not checked that out yet. What we'll do in the next step is we'll see how to get a passport and get the details of a specific student for that particular passport. Until the next step, bye-bye.